coming yet with a new video for y'all. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I am super excited to be filming right now. If you are new, you know what to do, like I just said. And if you are old, welcome. We are doing something that I've done before, which is true crime and makeup, except this case is going to be a very recent case as opposed to an early 20th century, I can't even talk, case, okay? This is very recent. This happened in 2021 and there is some updates as of 2023. I saw it in the news and I said I have to talk about the DMV area. If you are not familiar with the term, DMV just stands for DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So we are here. I have my handy dandy little notebook. Isn't it super cute? So anyways, I am here in my room and I want to talk about this because, like I said, I saw it in the news, but I also want to be very, very sensitive about this topic. It's a very sensitive topic. Again, it's very recent. Family members are still alive, especially our victim, Evelyn Player's daughter. Let's get started. So the first thing, you start off with your primer. For this case, it is going to be taking place in Baltimore, Maryland, okay? Specifically, the Southern Baptist Church. And it really makes me upset that this is even happening in a church. Out of all the places that this could have happened. It should have never even happened, point period blank. So, we're going to be talking about somebody who was 69 years old when she passed away, and her name is Evelyn Player. Also nicknamed as Dump. It was a term of endearment. Don't make it anything else other than that. So, she was born in Martin County, North Carolina. Yes, I'm putting a lot of concealer. Why? Because I can. She moved to Baltimore, Maryland when she was 5. And she was a graduate from Paul Lauren Dunbar High School, which she successfully completed in 1970. Growing up, she worked as a telephone operator at a place called CDN Telephone. She held several positions at printing and publication companies. So, Miss Player was all about her money and paper, right? And she worked at a place called Lippincott. I'm not sure if I'm saying it properly. Lippincott, Williams, and Wilkin. And she retired after working 28 years there. So, she had a nice career. She also was a coding specialist at the Chase Brixton Healthcare, and she was raised at Southern Baptist Church as a sexton. Okay, so she was a church woman, she was a hard worker, serving back to the community. Now, this case happened November 16th, 2021. Now, her daughter did not know this, but she would be receiving her last text message from her mom at 6:03 a.m. At approximately 6 in the morning, Evelyn Player walks into Southern Baptist Church. She is doing what she always does, and that is volunteering and working and serving her community. It is said when she clocked in to the church that she unlocked the side of the door and she propped it open so that the day laborers or the contract workers that were going to be working on site were able to access the facility, to be able to access church. The thing was, Evelyn had left her personal belongings at the front where the door was. She had left it at the front desk, like we all do when we get into work and we need our morning cup of coffee. The first worker came into the church through the door and he began to work. He didn't think anything strange of it. He was like, I'm here to do my job, so I'm gonna do my job. The second worker, on the other hand, was like, there's something going on because this is suspicious. So I'm gonna get down to the bottom of it, and thank goodness that he did. So the second worker came around 7 in the morning-ish and he noticed that the lights of the church were not on. So he's like, what is this? This is not normal. I've worked here before. If Evelyn is the one that is taking care of the shift, then the light should be on. This is just normal procedure. So of course, what did he do? He began to investigate the location to find Evelyn. So as he was walking around, he tried to open the handicapped bathroom and he noticed that it was closed. And he thought this was really odd because why would it be closed right now? So he used his keys to try to open it. To his surprise, who do you think was in the restroom? Miss Evelyn Player was in the restroom. And this just makes me just feel upset. It's disgusting to think that somebody thought that this was appropriate to do at church. And the fact that they even thought that this was appropriate, point period blank, because at the time of the death, Miss Evelyn Player was 69 years old. The autopsy revealed that Evelyn was stabbed 38 times. I want you to put that into perspective. 38 times. It wasn't like she was stabbed one time. 38 times. So to me, this sounds like it's a crime of passion. It's a crime. Who was this murderer? Why would they do this? Did they have connections to her? From just listening to that alone, it makes me feel like they do at the time that I was reading this. And they found that she had 54 cuts. So not only was she stabbed 38 times, but she had 54 cuts. Mind you, Evelyn is 69 years old. It's a little excessive, to say the least, to have 54 cuts and over 30 stab wounds. These were located in her face region, in her neck, and on her chest. Now, of course, when the police were called, they began to investigate to figure out what just happened, who would have done something like this. What police and investigators were able to uncover was that there was DNA evidence there. Originally, when the story broke out, there was a reward for $100,000 to help find the murderer in this case. And unfortunately, there were some tips, but unfortunately, those tips did not lead to the actual killer. But with DNA evidence, they were able to identify the killer. There was DNA evidence underneath Evelyn Player's fingernails, and there was also blood of the murderer on the scene. So of course, this linkage plus surveillance footage is what helped identify the perpetrator. And for this case, his name is Mancy Smith Jr., who was 62 years old at the time that he committed the crime. Now, who in the world is Mancy Smith Jr. and how does he know Evelyn Player? I would like to know that too. But it seems that there is no correlation between the two. Now, to say that this was random, it sounds really random, but it seems like there was something there that was more than, I mean, this is just very random, and a senior citizen out of all the people, and at church out of all the places that this could have happened. So Mancy was caught on surveillance footage of him entering church at 6:11 a.m. Mind you, I told you that at 6:03 Evelyn had texted her daughter. So she texted her daughter, "I love you, you know, I hope that you have an amazing day," and that she was at work, she was at church. And at 6:11, Mancy Smith is seen on surveillance footage entering church. Less than 20 minutes later, he was seen leaving the church. That meant that this crime took place between 6:11 to 6:31. Less than 20 minutes. This crime took place at 6 in the morning on November 16, 2021. And she was not found until around 7 in the morning. So not only was Evelyn hurt and harmed and this heinous crime happened, but she was left to bleed and to have all of these wounds on her. And of course, when 911 was called, there was paramedics and ambulance that showed up at the location of the crime. So of course, I have questions. I'm sure you do. Why would he do this? What kind of past does he have? And mind you, he was on probation in October of 2021, and that is when his supervised probation stopped. And this case took place in November 2021. So literally a couple of weeks after he was done with the supervision, he committed this crime. But he had committed 2 crimes prior to this. His first crime happened in 1979, and he committed, it starts with the letter R. If you catch what I'm trying to say, then you catch what I'm trying to say. YouTube does not like me saying that word. And he was sentenced 15 years for that crime, which he served. Then, on 1992, he was given a 30-year sentence for the same crime, an assault. Then, in 2014, he decided that it would be okay to rob a woman and steal her purse and steal her belongings, including her phone, and was sentenced to 8 years in jail. Mind you, the first 2 cases total up to 45 years. And he was convicted for 18 years to serve in the 2014 case. But he got out early for probation. So that's why he had supervised probation in October of 2021. Now, I do want to go back to something I had said earlier about the text message that was sent from Evelyn's side to her daughter. And the text said, "Good morning, I'm here. Have a great day. I love you." So Evelyn was somebody who was kind, spirited, loved by her daughter, loved by her grandson, loved by her community, who was a faithful member of the Southern Baptist Church, and who served in multiple ministries. And she was known as like the sheriff in the church. She kept order at church. Now, when Mancy Smith did what he did prior to the police getting to him, he decided to pawn Evelyn's rings. Not only that, but he used his state ID. He used an identification card that trailed back to him to identify him himself. Not even a fake one, a real one. And pawned Evelyn's rings for money. So why would he do that? I mean, you killed this lady, you leave her for dead, and then you take her rings and you pawn it. It sounds like you're strapped for cash. So on December 6, 2021, the police decide to interview Mancy. And to nobody's surprise, they knew that Mancy had did it, because remember the DNA evidence and because of seeing him on footage. He was not allowed to hold bail, so he was going to stand for trial. The catch was that he was deemed as somebody who could not go to trial because he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So this man, who has committed heinous crimes before, is committing another one. Now has elevated his crime to literally murder in church. Out of all the places he could have done it, out of all the people he could have gotten, he got a sweet 69-year-old woman who was a churchgoer, who was passionate, who was kind, who was loving. And for what? For what? Mancy had stated that he had no recollection of that. He had no idea why he did what he did. I do want to say in the 2014 case, he pleaded not criminally responsible due to the fact that he had a bipolar disorder. So of course, this evidence was already in the system, and this evidence was going to take some sort of part if he were to go on trial. So I do want to mention something that I found really interesting when I was researching this case, was what the Baltimore police commissioner said at the time when they were doing the investigation and journalists were asking him questions. And that was, and I quote, "Detectives got a warrant for Smith's arrest after zeroing in on him based on DNA evidence." So not even the surveillance footage was enough. It was DNA evidence that was the reason that they were able to arrest Mancy Smith and to get a warrant for his arrest. So Evelyn was found stabbed to death at around 7:30 in the morning is when finally everybody arrived on the scene that needed to. And when I said it was Governor Larry Hogan who offered $100K to anybody who had any sort of details that could lead them to Mancy. At the time they didn't know that it was Mancy, but obviously all the evidence that came through did pinpoint him there. So on December 2nd, when the police did end up getting to Mancy Smith, the detectives noticed something. They noticed that he had a few injuries on him, and the injuries were on his right hand and his right arms and his chest, which this is a tongue twister, which suggests that Evelyn did fight for her life, and she definitely did if she managed to get DNA underneath her nails. And if there's anything I can tell you from all of these true crime stories that I've told you, if you ever get, I hope none of us do, but if we ever end up being in a case where we're getting murdered or something, sounds really morbid to say, scratch the person that's doing it. So at least there's some sort of DNA evidence to link the person to the crime scene, because let's be honest, which one of us just out there scratching people and just keeping their DNA underneath their nails? It's not happening, right? But if you're getting killed, then it's something you should do, something we ought to do. Now, he is 63 years old. Mancy is 63 years old now, and he ended up not going to trial. He actually opted to take a plea agreement instead of standing trial. And this was going to take place, if he did go to trial, at the Baltimore Circuit Court. And he has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. And something that Evelyn's daughter said is, "I'm just glad that he is behind bars and won't be able to hurt anyone else again." And it's just crazy because this person was let out of prison, went to go hurt somebody else, was let out of prison again because they finished their sentence, and then went to go harm somebody else. So the unfortunate part about Mancy was I wasn't really able to get any sort of information about him other than he was from Greenmount West, Maryland, and that he did what he did. It makes me really sad that this case took place, because it should have never happened. It should have never ever happened. And I do not think that Mancy should have ever stopped having supervised probation, because clearly this happened less than 3 weeks after he was done being supervised. Because this happened literally 3 weeks after he was done being supervised. And that is the end of my video. Now, I did want to just give a huge condolence to the Southern Baptist Church if they're watching this, if the pastor's watching this, if Evelyn's daughter's watching this, if Evelyn's grandson is watching this. I want you to know that my heart is with you, that I am hoping that there is reform in Baltimore, and that I know that the mayor is trying their best to try to lower down crime. And I do briefly remember in my research seeing that Evelyn's daughter was saying that I knew that there was murders taking place, but I just never thought that it would happen to my family or even to me, let alone my own mom. And that her mom is very much missed and very much missed from her grandson, and that the fact that this happened literally a few, less than a couple of weeks from Thanksgiving, and then missing her during Christmas, and that fact that there was a few family members that were not present in the previous year of Thanksgiving, i.e. 2020, especially since the pandemic happened, really makes me sad, because now these holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas are ruined because of a case that did not have to happen. And it's really sad, and it makes me upset, but I hope that I shared and I shed some light on something that's currently happening and that you enjoyed watching this video. And I would definitely encourage all of you to go out there and read cases that are happening locally in your community. I don't live in Baltimore, Maryland, but I have visited the place before. And I just have to say, you know, it makes me really sad that this is happening in the DMV area and in other parts of the United States and the world in that case. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.